In this particular lab, we are going to be testing two compounds, compound A and compound B, to determine whether or not it is an ionic compound or a covalent compound. So to start with, let's take a look at some of the physical properties of compound A and compound B. Here we can see that compound A is a white solid and compound B is also a white solid. In the first test, what they want us to do is to take a little bit of compound A and put it into a watch glass. And what we're going to do is we're going to test the odor. And the way that we do odor tests is we use the wafting technique. Ooh, I can tell that it's got quite a bit of a smell. You can't smell it, but I will tell you that compound A definitely has a distinct odor to it. Okay, kind of like a Vicks vapor rub kind of smell. Compound B, I'm going to do that on the other side, and I will do the same thing. Yeah, there's no odor for compound B. So in your chart, you'll just want to put down no odor for compound B or unknown B, and there is an odor for A. We don't need to describe the odor. Now, in terms of the second test, we want to test the hardness. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a little bit, we can use our scapula and see if we can crush it. Okay, now it looks like compound A is definitely crushable and it's a bit softer. When I rub it between my hands, yeah, definitely it's a little bit more flaky and softer. When I go with compound B, definitely harder and it's a little more crystal-like, cube-like. So definitely not able to crush compound B. In this next test, what we're going to do is we're going to test the melting point of the two different substances. So what I've got going on here is I've got a crucible, and you're going to notice that on that crucible, I've got compound A is on the right and compound B is on the left. And what we're going to do is we're going to place this crucible lid on a clay triangle, which is on a ring clamp. And then I'm going to light the Bunsen burner and I'm going to figure out which one of these compounds will melt first. The one that melts first has the lower melting point. What I'm going to do right now, I'm going to light the Bunsen burner. So let's turn that on. Use our striker. Good. And I'm going to watch to see which one of these actually melts first. Remember, A is on the right and B is on the left. I think we can see which one melted. Woo! We even got some flame going on there, indicating definitely low melting point. In this next test, what we're going to do is we're going to be testing the solubility in a polar solvent. And polar solvent is something like water. So what we're going to do is we're going to pour a little bit of water into each of these test tubes. So here I've got test tube A and I've got test tube B. Okay, so we're going to put a little bit of water into each. And then what we'll do is we will add a little chemical of A into the appropriate test tube. So I've added a little bit of A and a little bit of B to each of their test tubes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to shake them up. And we're going to see in terms of solubility what we get. So it would appear that we've got two distinct layers indicating an insoluble compound there. And here we can see that we did get some dissolving for B in the polar solvent. In this next test, we're going to use a non-polar solvent, something like ethyl alcohol will do. And again, I'm going to pour a little bit of that into each test tube. So A and B tube. Just make sure that we have even amount for each roughly. okay? And then I'm gonna add a little bit of A and B to each. Okay, so I've added 1 scoop to each test tube. Okay, and we see that here's test tube A, and it has completely dissolved. And test tube B, we see 2 distinct layers. We do not get any dissolving in the non-polar solvent. In this next test, we're going to do a conductivity apparatus test, and we're going to see if our solutions conduct electricity. So here we've got 2 prongs, and I've got this plugged in. This is just regular water, and I'm going to hold this up into the water, and I can see that pure water is not conductive. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of A into my beaker here. Give that a little stir with my scoopula. I'm gonna hold it up, and light bulb does not go on. Okay, let's do the same thing. I'll get a new scoopula, and I'll do the same thing with my beaker B. Give that a little stir, and let's take a look. And we see that it is conductive. So when B is dissolved in solution, you saw that it conducted electricity. Now what you want to do after you've filled out all of the qualitative analysis of your 2 compounds, unknown A and unknown B, you should be able to compare the properties and see which of those properties the majority of them match, whether it's an ionic compound or a covalent compound, and then answer the questions that follow on the lab sheet.